We've heard and will continue to listen, said Jessica Mtaung after receiving a memo from Kaizer Chiefs fan. But did they really hear what we're saying? Were they really listening? Let's talk about it. So the first thing that was on that memorandum during those protests was that as the fans who want the club to restore the playing philosophy. One, by recruiting players who will fit into our playing philosophy, meaning ball players, dominant players who are good on the ball, not just abantu abazokhahlela ibhola. And number two, we wanted the club to recruit coaches who will also encourage players with their tactics to play this kind of football, the Kaizer Chiefs, the big team kind of football. And this was on the 7th of June, and everyone was happy because they just fired Uhand on the 28th of May. But then 2 days later, then they hired Strutbacks. You are telling us, Uguti, you are listening and you heard what we said to you, but then the first move that you make is hiring a coach who plays defensive-minded football. You know, I get it when maybe you think, the coach will be progressive after coming back, he will play better football. But the fact that you said you will continue to listen implies that when the coach starts doing something that is against what you said you would do, then that means there must be some actions that are supposed to be taken. We've been beaten to a pulp by teams this year. We've been embarrassed. Yet the club said they heard our complaints and that they were listening. But it doesn't seem like they were listening, because if they were listening, then they would have heard that we don't want the kind of football that we had been playing under Mintendorp or under Hunt. The kind of football that is predictable, the kind of football that is hopeful. Uguta shy cross, Nukovic will be at the end of that cross. All the other teams figured us out. And without going back to being Kaizer Chiefs and playing like a big team, all these other small teams will continue beating us. We move on to the second point, squad overhaul. Now, when we say squad overhaul, it basically means take apart the whole squad. Take the squad apart. Because you cannot tell me for 7 years there was nothing wrong with the team. If there was nothing wrong with the team, then why were they not winning anything? Yes, coaches played a huge role into that, but also the players contributed, and we demanded a squad overhaul to see izinto, to see players being taken out and new players being brought in. But manje mangathiwa I start counting the number of people who were playing last season and are still playing this season. Number one, our centre-back pairing. They just bring the worst out of each other. They are not a good competition whatsoever, and that's our first source of weakness. And if you are taking apart the squad, then that's the first place you'd go. Take apart that defense. Put someone else who is fresher, maybe hungrier. Maybe even taking them out of the squad would encourage them and motivate them to get better. But if you're not taking them out of the squad, you are giving them the impression that they are doing well. You can't tell me to sign a player who came from a team and was voted the best defender, and then you sign him to your team and then you don't play him while there are underperforming players in that squad in that position. How can you say a player who is a ball player, a player who is a better defender, is not the better defender than the person who can't play the ball, who's not as quick as the other defender, and who's not as good of a defender as the other player? How do you continue playing someone who consistently gives us subpar performances, yet you have someone who you bought to come and fix things in the team? We've heard and we'll listen. We'll continue to listen. Listen to what, actually? Listen to what exactly? To what we're saying or what you are thinking? Because if you're listening to what we're saying and what we're thinking, then we would have seen those changes. As bad as Hunt was, he had started giving Mashiane, Ungobo and Uplom a chance to play. But Baxter comes in and then he takes out Ungobo. Baxter comes in. How many times have you seen Mashiane play this season? So instead of fixing what's broken, he started fixing what's not broken. He started taking out Ungobo. making kind of the same comment about Nkosi Mpile as he said about Njabul, saying he still has to work on some parts of his game. Put him out on the field. Let him work them out on the field, because he's performing better than the players that you are letting play. Like, we thought he would be flying this season because he had started getting momentum, but then this season he's sitting on the bench. And when you do play him, you play him on the 85th minute. I mean, the club, does the club not see this? I mean, we blame Baxter and say Baxter this, Baxter that. Yes, he's wrong, he sucks. But what about the club? What are they doing when they see that this man is tearing our team apart? Number 3 was vision to conquer Africa. You are not conquering South Africa. How are you going to magically start dominating Africa? Same players, same tactics every week, and you are expecting change. No adaptation whatsoever. Why is the management? When are they intervening? You know, I'm very much against violence, but what's gonna happen the moment fans go back to stadiums? We will end up seeing what happened at Moses Mabhida, because fans are frustrated and the Mtaungs are not making any changes. Right now is the perfect time to fire him before fans return to stadiums while we're on the international break. Because from what I've been reading on social media, people are mad and they're mobilizing, getting ready to do the same thing they did at Mabhida, and no one wants to see that. So if you were listening, if you really heard us, do something. Number 4, I won't go deep to number 4, but it was about building good relationships with PSL and NFD clubs. Number 5 was effective use of our scouting department. When we talk about contributing to the club's culture and success, we are not just talking about for one season. We are talking about a long-term thing. We want it to be consistent. We don't want to win the league this season and not win it the following season. We want to continue dominating. And here's the thing. Last year, we signed 3 players over 30. Hlanti, Cole Alexander, and Nang. Now, don't get me wrong. Cole Alexander has performed amazingly for Kaizer Chiefs. I'm in favor of Velunange, nor do I favor Uhlanti, because we have Umabilis. But you're not telling me, Uguti, you are planning long-term for a team and then you sign 3 players over 30 in one transfer season. One, and you are telling me that you will sign 3 people over 30. It doesn't make sense, because we are trying to build something here that will last for the coming years. But the way you build, you start by bringing in older players. We already have enough experience in the squad as it is right now. What about the younger guys? What about the people who are playing with MTC? What about the people who are coming from mid development yet? What's their use then if you're just gonna sign older people to take their place in any case? What I find weird though is that he starts with old players, but when he's desperate, he brings in the young players. If you've noticed in the past few games that even when we're losing or the match is not going according to plan, if he has a plan, is that he starts bringing in Abu Hadebe, no. It's weird, because now you are putting so much pressure on these young players because you want them to turn the match around. But that's just too much. You can't just put in a player to a match on the 78th minute, you are losing 1-0, or it's the 75th minute and we need to score a goal quick. You are basically saying, now, my plan A didn't work, I need plan B to work, and you are my plan B. You're putting pressure on a player, and when he underperforms, you'll start saying, he's not good enough. But you are the one who does not care about young players. And does Kaizer Chiefs see this? Of course they see this, but why are they not doing anything? And number 7 was women's football. I feel like it should start with SAFA making women's football a big thing, and these other teams will then follow. And number 8, we wanted the chairman to account to fans. We want to keep the chairman accountable. We want to be kept in the loop of what is going on at the club. This is that they say that the chairman observes social media with keen interest. If he's been observing social media with keen interest, why has he not seen the comments and the cries of the fans about this coach? We don't like this coach. He's not playing the type of football that we've come to like with Kaizer Chiefs. Keen interest? Come on. Don't. Come on, man. If that was the case, Baxter would have been gone a long time ago. But he's still here, which means they lied to us. And then there comes the big one. Football over corporate Kaizer. Here's the thing. We are the most important stakeholders. But what we've come to see is that we've been treated more like customers rather than supporters. Kaizer Chiefs loses a match and then the admin on Facebook posts Kaizer Chiefs lost or whatever, and then they put a link to buying Kaizer Chiefs t-shirts. I'm like, oh my god, are you mental? How do you advertise selling a product while we're still in pain of losing a match or drawing a match or underperforming? Are we your customers or are we your supporters? Give us a day or two. But what you care more about is selling your merchandise, is selling kits, is selling new this, new that. Come on, man. Honestly, this club, what has happened? Is business that good that they now don't care about what we feel and how we feel? And number 10 was appoint general manager to regulate accountability. And this point is actually similar to point number 8 because we want to hold the club accountable. And number 11 was about membership cards. And number 12 was how and when to transition long-time servants. Players who've been at the club for long must be incorporated to the club. They must co-coach under 15, 16, 17 because we want the players who have come to understand the DNA of the club to be part of the club. And that will help us with the fact that all the coaches that we'll be getting, it will be the coaches who already understand the system of Kaizer Chiefs and understand the players from the development. And one good example is Atazwane. He has been there. He has been with the development, and last year he coached and we saw that he's good. And right now, it's the time for Kaizer Chiefs to let him coach the team. Because Baxter has shown over and over again that he's incompetent. But more than Baxter's incompetence, Kaizer Chiefs management is doing this. Kaizer Chiefs management is as responsible as Baxter in what has happened in the club. We've had Compella, Solinos, Mintendorp, Hunt, Baxter. You know what hasn't changed? The management. Still the same people, and changes need to be made. Otherwise, we'll continue to be a joke. Let me know what you think down on the comment section below. And if you haven't, please subscribe to this channel. In this channel, we speak everything Kaizer Chiefs, previewing and reviewing matches, and speaking about everything surrounding Kaizer Chiefs Football Club. And until next time, remember, Ikos and Pelumoy.